TikTok, it's time to rock. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the 5150 show. It's my pleasure, ladies and gentlemen, to introduce to you live here on the show, on the channel, DK Harrell, all the way from, I understand, Louisiana. DK, am I correct?
Yes, correct, sir, Louisiana.
Fantastic, fantastic. It's a pleasure, DK, to have you on here to talk a little bit about your music, where you've come from, where you want to go with your music. I've got to do a bit of a shout out to a mutual friend of ours, Michael, also, who was the middleman in making sure that you and I managed to get this time to get to spend together. So, Michael, if you're watching live or watching a replay, brother, thank you very much for reaching out and introducing me and the channel, and then obviously the people that watch us to DK, because DK, I've been watching a bit of your stuff, man. You are you're the real deal.
I wouldn't say that. I wouldn't say that. But thank you for that. I just, of course, I thank Michael for this. He mentioned it to me, I think about a week or so ago, and because it's Michael, I'm going to say yes. You know, as long as there's nothing illegal, I'm going to say yes at all times. Then again, if it is illegal, it just depends on the situation.
Look, Michael's a very good friend of the channel, DK. You know, he's been on the channel a couple of times as well. You know, and we've spoken about, he's a Clapton nut. You probably already know that. He loves Eric Clapton, and yeah, we've done a few shows on here, and just a genuine nice guy. I love sharing his profiles and, you know, his projects that he does on our social media. And DK, our channel and our social media links will be happy and proud to do that for you too. So if you're watching, ladies and gentlemen, on a replay and you want to get in touch with DK or follow DK, I have his website already attached to the description here for you to go and follow DK on his website, but we'll attach obviously all his other social media links where you can get in touch with him and hang out and keep up to date with what DK's doing. DK, we've got a couple of people in the chat. Like I said to you in the green room, we have a lot of people that watch our shows on replay, so we're going to just carry on doing the show. If anybody has any questions, obviously, for DK, I'll ask that a couple of times. I'll do the best that I can to get those messages or those questions across to DK. But DK, I suppose what's really, really important for our channel is that, you know, you're a young guy, you're playing the blues, you know, you've got a fantastic gig, you know, you've got a fantastic package going on. Tell us how you how did DK get into the blues? What's the story there?
Oh, well, this is a true story. It sounds like something out of a movie, but my mother and my aunt and my grandfather told this story many times from the time I was a child to now. The story goes that when I was about 2 years old, I was a very strange 2-year-old. I would not talk. I wouldn't make any noise. I wouldn't try talking. The only thing I would do is point to the milk or to my cup and just grunt. And that's the only way that you knew that I wanted something. I barely cried. I didn't meddle with stuff. I was a very odd kid. Sure. But to continue the story, my mother and my aunt went to the store one day, and as they were preparing to leave, my grandfather gave them a CD, which was B.B. King's album Deuces Wild.
Wow.
And it was about a year or so after it came out. And my grandfather told my mother when he gave it to her, he said, if you put this on, he'll be fine. So she put this record on as we're going down the road. And I'm in my car seat. And next thing you know, she heard this little voice in the background singing, "The Thrill Is Gone."
Wow.
And that's the story of how I started talking. So I guess you can say that the blues was my first words. That's how I got into it.
Wow.
Yeah, it's a true story. It's a true. It's crazy as it is. It's a true story.
Um, so obviously, BB King, yeah, he's obviously an icon when it comes to electric blues, but just even music generally. One of the great things about this music that we follow, that we love, DK, is there's you in Louisiana,
Mhm.
one of the homes of blues music.
Correct.
And here's me halfway around the world in New Zealand, like you, hearing live at the Regal when I was about 14 years old, being blown away by this guy going, what, how can someone play the guitar like that? This is just impossible. So it's one of those interesting things, and I love talking about it, how music can do that. So obviously, you started. Did you start singing first? Was that the thing that got you into the blues as a performer, or was it the guitar? Did you want to get the guitar at an early age?
Well, I started singing first. Of
Okay.
course, when I was younger. I started singing in school and at church.
Yep.
And when I was in elementary, we had a music class. They didn't call it choir or anything. I don't even think they called it music education. They just called it music room, where the kids would go into the music room and we would listen to all different types of music. So from an early age, I wasn't only listening to blues, but I was listening to jazz, such as Duke Ellington and
Okay.
even old gospel Mahalia Jackson. There were even times where we listened to kind of like show tune type stuff, like the Looney Tunes theme song, which, yes, it does exist. Because it became very nerve wracking after about 3 weeks of listening to it. Then I had a cousin, an older cousin, who would go to my grandmother's home, and he would pull up all of these old songs. Of course, this is when YouTube was like new to everyone. So
Sure.
he was like searching everything, and he was playing James Brown, Sam Cooke, any R&B, blues, and soul artist between 1955 to about 1980.
Yeah.
He played, and that's where a lot of my influence came from, singing wise. And then as a young man, about, I want to say about the age of 10, I started singing in my church choir here in Louisiana as part of the youth choir. And then once I hit puberty at about 13 years old, my voice started to change.
Sure.
They said, "Okay, now you have to move to the to the adult choir." So I stayed in the adult choir from the age of 13, which I think I was the only boy at
Yeah.
13 in the adult choir. But my choir director at the time at church always told me that I had a strong voice, and I never believed I'm my worst critic. But I mean, it was crazy. Even in my school choir, I was in school choir from sixth grade all the way till I graduated high school.
Right.
So I probably dedicated about a good 6 years into choir when it comes to the educational side.
Sure.
As for choir and church, oh wow, probably about 7 years.
Okay.
Yeah. Don't mean to
It's
ramble on. My apologies.
uh, 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 you know, again, it's an interesting thing, isn't it? How the church environment gave and continues to give, people a platform to learn music, but more than that, perform it. It's a remarkable story that still continues today.
Of course. The A lot of people don't understand how much and not to be political, but it's just facts. A lot of people are not aware of how much the Southern Black Gospel Church has influenced a majority, if not all, the music that we have today.
Oh, that's a fact. That's if you're a blues fan, it's it's a fact. We know that, and
Yeah.
I think this is one of the great things, again, about the music that we follow. We mentioned this a few times on the channel. DK, for example, the main reason why we exist here on this channel, it's about the British electric blues. It's like Clapton and Peter Green and Fleetwood Mac and the Rolling Stones and what they did, how they heard, the Black Delta guys singing in the 1930s and in the 40s, Muddy Waters, Robert Johnson, all these great musicians, and how that inspired them when they were in England and the UK, and they turned around and gave us their version of the blues back to America in the late 1960s, as you know, which in turn sort of gave a good input into propelling people to find out a little bit more about Howling Wolf and Muddy Waters, because, as you know, they were just select artists up until that time. Well, yeah. So the point, I'm just backing up your point that rock and roll. If it wasn't for blues music, we wouldn't have rock and roll.
No, this is true. I actually kind of made a statement like that on my social media, and I took it down because it caught a lot of backlash. And I wasn't trying to offend anyone, which I understand that everyone has their own opinion of
Sure.
music, but there are a lot of things that are just simply facts. You
Sure.
cannot argue with facts. If every book, says this is where this came from, you really can't argue with it because you got 10 million authors or 10 million historians that are saying no, this is where it came from. It's right here. We found it. It's right here.
Yeah.
Which in the blues world, you'll be amazed at how many arguments, or should I say debates, respectfully, are made of all types of crazy topics dealing with rock and roll and the blues. So.
Yeah, and I think that's a good point. I'm just going to do a special shout out. We've got a guy in the chat, a guy called Jeff Levenfeld, who is a photographer extraordinaire. He's responsible for taking photos in this book, Fleetwood Mac in Chicago, 1969, and these guys from the UK are in Chicago at Chess Studios playing with these legends of the blues world. So Jeff's going to agree with you. We all know where the blues came from, brother.
Hello, Mr. Jeff.
Yeah. And it's it's not a political thing. It's a fact, and I think this is one of the reasons why. Well, I know for a fact it's one of the reasons why we always give a lot of shout outs on this channel, DK, to Jimmy Page and to Eric Clapton especially, and Keith Richards, because DK, they never hid who their mentors were right from the word go.
Yeah.
Brian Jones, there's a famous clip of Brian Jones being interviewed when he's in the UK by some TV guy, presenter, and basically Brian Jones turns around and says to the guy, why don't you shut up? Stop talking to us. We're just the Rolling Stones. We're just some white guys from the UK. Let's get Howling Wolf on. Howling Wolf's over here. Let's listen to Howling Wolf. Yeah, it's a famous clip. So yeah, I've got to say it. It's an obvious thing. You're following in the steps of this great legacy of southern guys playing blues music. DK.
Yeah. It's it's a blessing and a curse. And
Oh,
yeah, I say that because in the blues industry right now, especially
sure.
in America, it's a little depressing because the people here will love the music, but they don't want to pay for the music. They don't want to
Oh,
pay musicians, or should I say, they don't want to pay the musicians well.
sure.
I've heard and read plenty of stories of how Muddy, Howlin' Wolf, Coco Taylor, Lil Walter, Big Walter, so many of these legends talked about how when they would be home, they would um, they would get paid, maybe $50 to perform.
Sure.
But then when they go to Europe, the UK, Denmark, Germany, they're getting paid hundreds, if not thousands of dollars just to do two songs, and
Sure.
it's kind of still like that today. And I hate to say it, but that's the part that's the curse. The blessing of it is that it does feel good to share our blues with others, or our story or our life occurrences with people through song here in America. It is nice. It is fun. But the curse of it is that no one has an appreciation for it the way that Europe has for the past 50 years.
Um, you're right, and I'm just looking for a biography that I just read over the Christmas period. Finished King of the Blues: The Rise and Reign of BB King. I've got it over here. It's just out of my reach. It's one of the best biographies
It's a good book.
um, that I've read, and he talks about exactly what you've just said. That's one of the reasons why he had to tour. What he had a big family to support, and that's a fact. But that's one of the reasons why he was touring constantly. He speaks about it and he talks about it quite clearly. The fact, yes, he loved music, he loved playing, of course, because that's what he's doing and you're doing, and in the first place. But it's a business, it's an industry, and again, DK, we mentioned it a few times on this channel how rock and roll is a business, the blues music is a business, and they haven't been like a lot of businesses run it properly where everybody's had an equal piece of the pie.
Yeah, it's that's the sad part. For a prime example, that book about BB's rise and reign as the king of the blues. Um, a lot of people. There's an interview that's actually documented where I think he's in Germany for some television show, and they ask him about being rediscovered.
Sure,
And and every time I look at those interviews with him or any other artist from that time, and these reporters or interviewers say, rediscovered, I laugh because B said, "Well, I don't think I was, ever lost. I appreciate being found, but I don't think I was ever lost." And even though it was funny, he was correct. He had a career at the time for about 20 years by the time of 1969, and
yep,
the thing was, at home in the 60s, Motown and rock and roll was the sound, especially in the
sure,
black communities. So it
sure,
was kind of like the attention on blues died out, sadly to say, by the early 1960s in America, not in Europe, but in America. And that it took Europeans listening to our music or listening to BB to come and go, hey, you guys, you know, you don't understand. This music is just as good as Motown. It's just as good as Stax Records. You know, this is just as good. And I've heard a lot of people in the black community, you know, complain about it. You know, all the blues is white people's music now, and I'm like, well, it's not necessarily white people's music. It's everyone's music, but you have to accept the fact that in the black community, black people left it alone.
Yeah,
You know, as the times went on, you know, and I understand, I highly understand, but I've heard older black people say, well, I stopped listening to blues because it reminded me of slavery. I stopped listening to blues because it reminds me of the civil rights movement. And I'm just like, well, you have to think about it. That was music made then. But the funny
correct.
part is, these same black elders who say this will listen to the staple singers who did plenty of civil rights songs, so it's just very funny, and this is the part where I say, people get very touchy about it, but it's the
Sure.
facts that whether you are singing in the traditional style of Son House or Robert Johnson, um, it's still a message in there somewhere, and it doesn't need to be judged because it was a certain time period. It just needs to be accepted as that this is what happened. This is what was going on at that time. Uh,
Absolutely. Absolutely, absolutely, DK.
yeah,
It's a historical record in a sense too, isn't it? The music that we listen to and that we love. It's about the normal everyday lives of the people. It's one of the reasons why we were attracted to blues in the first place, because of the authenticity and sincerity of the songs. It's the same thing that we are attracted to bluegrass. It's for the same thing. It's that it's music from the people. And while bluegrass today isn't popular music, it's still really popular in the States, just like the blues, as you're saying. People are still playing it, listening to it, but the problem is with both those types of music that we've just mentioned. You said it before. No one wants to pay for it, which
yeah,
is the sad reality of the situation that we've got today. Spotify is a great thing because we can go and have a library's worth of music at our fingertips that we never had 20 years ago. But how's the artist getting paid, DK?
oh man, the artists are getting paid chump change, sadly. So many to the point where they have to pull their records from the platforms. And oh, thank you so much. Um, they have to pull their records, and I understand, but you know, it's almost like being exploited. It's like being exploited. You're asked to do something, and people fill your ears with it. This is going to be good. This is going to be good, and you get excited and you do it. You put your all into it, and then you're given literally chump change. And I hate to say it, Spotify, but
Yeah,
this is not the 50s and the 40s and the 30s where you could tell an artist, hey, we'll cut you a record or whatever, but we're gonna pay you half a cent a record. Like this is not 50, 60 years ago, And now I understand why so many artists now, especially those that I've met, um, will sell their CDs themselves.
sure.
And I've
Yeah,
seen them sell their
yes.
CDs $20, a CD. And some of them have told me it's a lot better than putting my stuff on media platforms or music outlets on the media,
Yep.
uh, because you don't get paid. Prime example. Had a friend of mine who released a song. He had a great fan base. He has a great fan base, great following, and he did everything through DistroKid.
Sure.
And when he did his stuff through DistroKid, he had a whole bunch of people listening to him, but he only made about $15 in almost a year.
Wow.
And it was on Spotify, Apple Music, you name it. And I was just like, you got $15 just off one song in a year? And he said, yeah. And that's just the sad part. So that's the business now.
I, I I'm glad that you mentioned selling your own CDs. That's something that I've been witnessing here in New Zealand a lot over the last couple of years. Certainly since we came down from lockdown, you go and watch any live gigs with any live artists here, even local artists. They've got their own CDs now, and DK, people want to buy them. It's all,
Mhm.
people are queuing up to buy because they want to support the artists. They appreciate the fact, that it's revenue directly going back to the band or the artist. I suppose the issue for you being a blues musician in the States is that for you to generate some kind of sustainable income, does that necessarily mean that you have to play a lot of live gigs now? Is that where you is that the 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 method of maintaining an income for you now?
Actually, yes. For all artists who are emergent or upcoming, that is exactly what has to be done. You have to gig a lot, and another thing, and a thing that can hurt you. Um, just using myself as an example, I live in North Louisiana. In North Louisiana, there is no music scene.
Wow.
There is no music scene. Um, that's correct, Christopher. You have to get out and get live. Uh,
He knows.
and that's and I'm not saying that artists shouldn't, have to, depend on gigs, but at the same time, a person shouldn't have to, you know, question about, hey, do I really want to beat BB's record of 342 one nighters just to make ends meet? So, and I know they probably wouldn't do that today, but it's sad when you kind of think about it because that's exactly why BB did 342 one nighters.
Yeah,
It wasn't only to network and get himself out there. That was his job being a musician. He had to work, and his work was playing music, and playing music was how he got paid.
sure.
And today, in my area where I live, there is not. There are clubs, but they don't welcome live music. Everything now is playing through a Bluetooth speaker, and they're playing either country or contemporary rap music. Um, right before the pandemic, I sat in with a live band in a city that's about an hour away. Um, and they were good. They were a great live band. And I asked them, I said, do you guys travel quite a bit? And they were like, no, we pretty much do a lot of local stuff, private parties, and that's about it. And they are so good that I could see them, traveling and doing things. Hello there, Mr. Ranford. Um, so it's just sad to say that as a present day musician, um, you have to go live in order to get paid. You have to be live in order to get paid. But the sad part is that I've seen many musicians play at a venue, and they'll have their Cash App, Venmo, Zelle, etc., on a piece of cardboard or in a link somewhere on their live while they're playing this venue. And I've seen people complain, oh, why they're always asking for money? Why they're always at they're musicians, they're post play, because this is how they make a living. This is how
Sure.
many of us eat and have lights and water. We have to eat too. We have to survive too, and a lot of people don't understand it, but they want us to give our 110% every time we step up on stage.
Look, I'm glad you mentioned that, and I think this is something that most of us here in the chat, and I'm going to do a shout out soon, DK, to the people in the chat, if that's okay.
Yes.
If we've been following music for a long time, we understand, the economic facts behind playing music live. And it's always been a difficulty until you get lucky, so they say, or or something happens and some kind of genuine, huge momentum happens, and I suppose that's something too that you've got to strive for, that something like that will happen. But
Mm.
the point is, just because you're up on a stage and you've got 8 people there, or a 4-piece band, and you're playing a Gibson, a really nice Gibson guitar through some Fender amps, doesn't necessarily mean that you're
Yeah.
generating a lot of money. We know that it's always a difficult thing. I, I, I want to share this idea with you. I was talking to a couple of friends a couple of days ago at my job, and we were talking about Tom Petty, because Tom Petty's there's a new documentary coming out on Tom Petty,
Mm.
and what Tom Petty did before he formed the Heartbreakers. And Van Halen, there's a couple of Van Halen nuts in here too, and they'll understand this too. Van Halen did the same thing, DK. They went and hired their own venues, got their own kegs of beer, and sold tickets themselves to get people to come and watch them, as opposed to going through a promoter or a venue or something like that. Maybe the wheel has flipped around completely again, where maybe artists have to start doing stuff like that themselves, do you think?
Well, if things continue the way they go, I wouldn't be surprised if they started doing that again. Or if everyone hears that story that is a musician and says, hey, we should do what Tom Petty and the Heartbreakers did and start, pretty much selling and buying ourselves in order for people to see what we're doing. And even for them, that's a sad story because it's happening now. So you never know. It might. I wouldn't be surprised. I wouldn't be surprised if there is a local band somewhere wanting to get to the top or
Sure.
making it or get lucky, and they're doing that same thing. I wouldn't be
Yeah,
surprised.
yeah. Yeah, and look, DK, I wouldn't be surprised too. It's interesting. I just had a couple of thoughts in my head when you mentioned BB King being rediscovered again. See, I'm an old man, and I remember when BB King he played a couple of songs with U2 on the
Mhm.
Rattle and Hum album, and I was fortunate and lucky enough to know who BB King was before he was discovered by U2, if you know what I mean. I was
Yeah.
just being a bit cheeky there, but I was lucky enough to know who he was beforehand. But it's interesting how many of my friends at the time went, "Who's this BB King guy?" And and I remember he just happens to be one of the one of the greatest guitar players to ever walk on the earth. Oh, how come I haven't heard of him? Well, you have now.
Exactly. You have now. That is that is sad that they didn't know who BB King was. That is very sad. Well, I mean, I get
um,
it. I get it, but still, if they're true fans, especially of the British invasion, they would have
yeah,
at least heard his name once somewhere.
yeah. I'm going to do a quick shout out while we can. We've got Charles Green, a very, very good friend of the channel. He's from the States here as well. Jeff Leventhal, who I mentioned to you earlier before, another very, very good friend of the channel. Good to see you guys. Holly
Yes.
Lewis, another good friend of the channel. Good to see you, Holly. Derek Clacton from the UK popped in here,
Nice.
supports us. Great music fan, loves the British Electric Blues. Good to see you, bro. Christopher Live Sour, another good friend of the channel, is popping in, making some great comments here. Charles 75N, good to see you, bro. Great Vanzini is in here. I haven't seen you for a while, Great Vanzini. Good to see you. If I've missed anybody, Gretch Zeppelin from Canada. Good to see you, Gretch Zeppelin. Another good friend of the channel. If you guys have any questions for DK, please ask them, and I'll do the best that I can to highlight those questions. DK, at what stage did you decide that you were going to give music the attention that it deserved for you to at least give it a crack to make a living? Was it something that you decided that you were going to do early on?
Well, yes and no. When I was younger, I used to have this bad habit of picking up something, like, picking up a hobby. And of course, like any other kid,
Yeah,
after a month or so goes by, drop it.
sure.
So about 2009, a lot of people don't know this, especially now. Uh, in 2009, I actually started playing blues harmonica.
Oh,
And yeah, and I got influenced by the film Cadillac Records, which of course is about Muddy Waters, Leonard Chess, Howlin' Wolf, etc. But that movie has so many historical inaccuracies; it's not even funny. It's
it,
still a
it's
good
still a,
movie.
it's still a great movie, bro.
Yeah,
It's still a
it's
great
still a
movie.
great
Yeah,
movie.
yeah,
Still a
yeah,
great,
yeah,
but so many historical
yeah.
inaccuracies. Uh, and of course, the character Lil Walter is um, who influenced me to pick up blues harmonica. And I say a character, but the man Lil Walter
Yeah.
was a very big influence on blues harmonica. I never could, of course, play like him. I never even owned a harmonica microphone and a little harmonica amp. I never did all that. I just ordered a bunch of harmonicas. Um, and I've probably owned 40 between the time of 2009 and 2010. Um, and then I dropped that, and I was watching Blues Brothers, which I had always watched as a child.
Sure.
And of course, there's a scene of John Lee Hooker on Maxwell Street with
Oh,
Muddy Waters Band.
oh,
And I just liked his tone. And so I asked my grandfather, I think it was, to buy me a guitar, which he did. Which he did. It was and I still have that guitar, but it's a mess. It is like it's not even playable right now.
oh,
Like it is a mess,
I'm glad. Like a true blues man, you got a crappy guitar for your first guitar. Good, well done.
man. It's like an off-brand Fender Strat, but it's not even a Squire. That's how off-brand it is.
Oh, wow.
It's called a Sensonic Pro Series guitar, and I mean it looks just like a Strat, but it's not. But he bought me that guitar and a bass amp. He bought me the wrong
And a
amp.
bass.
he got me a bass amp. And I didn't even know it was a bass amp until I plugged it in at home. I was just so excited. I got home and plugged it in, and I was like, "Why is this amp so low? Why is it so low?" so, so I took it to a pawn shop like a year later or something because it stopped working or something. No, I took it to a Guitar Center,
Sure.
and I said, "Hey, something's wrong with my lead guitar amp. It's been like making this boom boom sound every time I play the string." And the guy said, "Well, what are you playing it, through?" I said, "I got a Sensonic, Pro Series guitar." I said, "It's like a Strat." He said, "This is a bass amp." And it was a cheap bass. I mean, it was, I'm not going to lie. I had so much fun with it. And I can't even remember what brand it was. All I remember was that it was a 1x12
Sure.
little bass amp speaker, just little bass amp. And it was just so funny when I found out that it was not a lead guitar amp. And the sad part is the guitar, shortly right after I found out that it was a bass amp, the guitar immediately started falling apart. Like
Oh.
the jack input actually like fell out. I was playing it and it just fell out of the guitar. And then the screws that hold the coils, the single coils in the pickups, just started falling out. Like it was just it was horrible. The back of the guitar has the, of course, if you've seen the back of a Strat, they have those thick springs that
Sure.
hold. Those started falling out.
Wow,
This
my
guitar
gosh.
was a lost hope. Like it was not good. But I kept it because I promised myself and on my grandfather's grave that I would get that guitar fixed to the T and I would pull it back out. And even though I'm a Gibson guy now and I play a very rare Gibson, um, I plan to get it fixed and pull it out one day and tell people that story about, hey, this is my actual first guitar, that I ever had, and I still have it.
I look, I love it, and I think people in the chat are loving it too, DK. This great story of all of us having our first experiences with the guitar. And normally, when someone gives it to you or buys it for you, they think that they're doing something really, really good, and they have no idea what they're buying because they're not guitar players
No,
themselves. So they'll, you've got this guitar,
it was
I've got the classic story. My first acoustic guitar had action that was half an inch off the fretboard. It was impossible to play chords. It was just but the good thing about it, DK, is it gives you at least a benchmark of measuring everything else to come after that. Because if you'd been given that Gibson, and let's be honest, if you'd been given a great, and I'd love to hear about that Gibson you're playing, but
oh
if
yeah,
you were given that Gibson straight away, you probably wouldn't have appreciated that guitar because you hadn't progressed along the road of owning crap to get to a point where, oh wow, this plays good, this sounds good.
and this is why girlfriends never understand us. This is why they never understand why every time we get some car accident check that we go and buy a new guitar that we know we can't afford, but because we have that money at the time, they don't understand it. And that's why, because nobody has ever given them something that was crappy. Because women, I mean, no offense to women on the live, but you know how you women are. You guys want top notch. Y'all don't want the little diamond ring. You want the big diamond ring. You want the one that he has to sell his kidney on the black market to get the 200,000 for this ring. We guitar players, we just, hey, we get that crappy amp and that crappy guitar, and we are so excited. And then 10, 15, 20 years later, when we have our own money,
Yeah,
whatever,
yeah,
we buy that Gibson, we buy that Fender, we buy that Ibanez, um, and we appreciate them even more. And of course, we just like there are women out there who are fine with being cat ladies with 50 cats. We're fine with being old men with 50 guitars. We're fine with it.
absolutely, absolutely, one
Sure.
hundred percent, 100%.
Yeah.
So so you had these harps. Little Walter, not bad, not bad for influence.
No.
Little Walter, my gosh, as a influencer. So did you work out this harp thing wasn't me? I wasn't. You weren't expressing yourself the way that you thought that you should be. So you went to the guitar, and then that crappy guitar aside, you
Yeah.
started sounding good. You started enjoying. No.
Mm-mm. No. I was horrible. I
Oh,
was. If there was a definition for horrible, it would be a picture of me when I first started playing guitar. If there was a definition for trash, it would be a picture of me when I first started playing guitar because I was horrible.
wow.
I knew nothing about tuning a guitar. I knew nothing about what notes to play on the guitar. So every time I pull, and oh man, I embarrassed myself so bad multiple times. I went to school freshman year of high school and brought one of my guitars.
Yeah.
And when you're a teenager, you're cocky, you're a little arrogant. Oh yeah, I'm the guy. Yeah.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
I played 3 songs. I don't even want to finish this story.
Oh,
I
you
played
have to
three
now.
songs, and they were horrible. Someone sent me a video of me playing, and this is like 10 years ago, now.
Wow.
But this, they send me a video of me playing at school, and all I could do was laugh because of how horrible I sound. I mean, out of tune. Damn.
Oh.
I mean, I sounded like heartache. Like I sounded like a guy who just went through World War One and World War
Yep.
Two at the same time, and then came home and found out his home had burned down. It was bad.
Sure.
But what I'm proud of is that it shows how long of a way I've came since then. Because my goal was to sound like John Lee Hooker. So to me, when I was younger, he sounded like he was playing out of tune.
Yeah.
So, well, really, it was either open D and open G, I believe, which I didn't learn that until 3 years ago. But yes, I was horrible when I was younger. So, to continue to answer your previous question about when I got the influence to play guitar, it was John Lee Hooker first. Couldn't sound like him, so I put it down. Again, still not knowing anything about tuning. I wanted to sound like Muddy Waters, bought a slide and everything, still sounded
Sure.
horrible. And I
Sure.
just couldn't realize that it was my fault. I'm the reason why I sound horrible. so, so I asked my mom if she would buy me another guitar because I thought it was the guitar's fault. So,
Sure.
God, this is horrible. So she buys me a guitar, which I still have this one. It's called a D Armand Model 50, I believe. These guitars were short-lived. I think the last one that was produced was maybe 1998, if that. And it's like a really, I mean, no offense to the company, but it's like a real big ripoff of a Gibson Les Paul with 2 knobs.
Okay.
And it's kind of slim, very, very light. I got that guitar from a pawn shop. And it's blue. And I named it Blue because it was blue.
Sure.
This is not interesting. This is probably going to be the lowest viewed live, but
Don't worry, bro. Don't worry. It's all
it
good.
was it
We're
was it
having a
was
we're having a good time.
a rough guitar. I mean, it needed new pickups put in it, which we did do that, and we had the input jack fixed as well. But apparently the guy at Guitar Center, thank God I don't remember his name because I would have blasted him all over social media. But when he put the new pickups in, he didn't screw them in to where they would stay in the pickup. So every time, and I still haven't got this fixed to this day because, of course, I've moved on and had different guitars. Still to this day, if you turn the guitar upside down, the pickups fall right on the strings.
Oh my god.
And it's the funniest thing in the world to me because I show all of my friends and they just die laughing. But the guitar still sounds very good. That's the sad part. It sounds very good. Then after that, I thought to myself, who is someone that people try to get tone wise or playing wise and they just can't get them? Because to me, the Rolling Stones, the Animals, the Yardbirds, Cream, they could get the tones of Buddy Guy, Muddy Waters, even Hubert Sumlin. They could get all their tones and licks. And then, of course, I went back to my roots of B.B. King. And I dedicated, let's see, about 4 years to hardcore studying of BB King.
Wow.
And people ask me to this day, how do I play like him or sound so similar to him? And I tell them YouTube videos. And it's not those, here's how to play the Thriller's going. It's not that stuff, because that crap bores me.
Sure.
Don't get me wrong, I appreciate all the guitarists who take that time, but it bores me because a majority of them talk for 6 minutes before they even show you the first lick.
Sure.
So what I did was I took every video that I could find.
Wow.
From 1968 to 2014 of BB King concerts, like either full-length concerts, every little clip that I could find of him playing and singing. That's what I did. And so I downloaded them to thumb drives, which I think is illegal, but I downloaded them to thumb drives and put them in my PlayStation and would just like watch. And then I bought the DVD BB King Blues Masters, and that's actually the DVD where I learned about tuning.
Ah.
Yeah. So they were talking, and the guy who's interviewing him is also a guitarist. And he goes, "So do you usually play in, are you usually tune E standard?" And B goes, "Oh yeah, I don't play in any other tuners except for E standard." So that's when I finally bought a tuner.
Sure.
And my mom laughed at me. She was like, this whole time you've been playing out of tune. And I'm just like, leave me alone. So started, tuned up, started playing and playing better.
Yeah.
And my mom caught me playing one day to I think one of BB's concerts. And she was like, "How did you learn this?" And I was like, "I just watch them." And she was like, "No, really, how did you learn?" I said, "I just watch them." I said, "I just watch all his concerts, every video that I could find." And so then I went into college. So fast forward. Oh, well, I'll take that back. I put the guitar down in 2014. Here's another funny but true story. I put the guitar down because the James Brown movie was coming out.
Yeah.
And I grew my hair out, and he already knows where this is going. He already knows where this is going.
All right.
Yeah. I grew my hair out. I think I let my hair grow out for like 6 months.
Hi, Michael.
And I got a perm. I did. I got a perm. And I used to do the dances. And that in the videos on YouTube. It is
Really?
on YouTube. It's on YouTube.
Oh my gosh.
And it's me in high school. This is 2014, like fall of 2014. And I actually used to wake up with curlers in my hair. Like really. My mom used to do my hair. And in high school, I caught so much hell. People were asking me, and I'm just being honest, people were asking me if I was a homosexual. It was bad. Like, it was so bad. And then, of course, when you're at the time a 230-pound young man doing the splits and coming back up with the problem, people are still going, "Are you a homosexual?" So it's really bad. But I did that for about 2 years. Yeah, it was, oh, man. If I could turn back the hands of time. But I did that for 2 years. And I was dancing, man. Like, I was doing everything.
Yeah, you got the moves. You got the moves.
I got the moves. Like, it's on YouTube. And I never took that video down because, for one, at the time when I was posting on YouTube, none of my videos were being looked at. Like, I probably got like 20 views on early stuff, but that was the only video they got like to 400 and something views, in like a few months. And it was just so funny to me. But did that, 2016, I graduated high school, and I still had my perm. So my graduation pictures were ridiculous, and because you have to wear your cap and your
Oh.
gown,
So your cap's 5 inches off your head. DK.
look, it was so bad. It was so bad. In the picture, they had to clip.
That the Photoshop 4 inches off to put your head so that it would be in the frame for the photo.
My hair
Oh
was
my.
so big at the time. My mom had to redo my hair, and she had to make it. This is so funny. She had to make it into a comb over,
Okay.
into a part. So, so here I am with hair like this long,
Wow.
parted to the side, with my cap clipped to my hair so it wouldn't fall. And so, if I could turn back the hands of time, man. So after that, I did my last show at school, which when I say last show, I was in choir, so we did a lot of production type stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And so the last show of the year was Bearcats on Broadway. Bearcats is our high school mascot. And is where the choir would sing various tunes from Broadway, etc., musicals. And my choir teacher, and here's the real funny part about it. My choir teacher knew I was about to cut off my hair. He knew it. He said, "Hey, bud, I know you said you was going to cut your hair off." He said, "But I can't have you cut it off yet." I said, "Why not?" He said, "Well, for Bearcats on Broadway, the show is going to be a little long. So we would like for you to do a James Brown skit or performance right before intermission."
Wow.
So I was like, "Fine." So I did that. And I think that's on YouTube too. I got two kids from the high school band. God, this is bad. To play trombone and trumpet. I got Caleb Ogden. I can't believe I remember his name. Caleb Ogden to play guitar. And I think his last name is Walden. I got Andrew Walden to play drums. And the two kids from the band was Trevor and Scott Cater. Now, here's the funny part. This was the oddest looking group ever.
Mm-hmm.
You have a fat black man fronting the band. You have a white guy on drums, a white guy on guitar, an Asian on trombone, and a short light skinned guy, a mixed guy, a black and white guy on trumpet. We pulled this off. We do roughly 10 minutes,
Wow.
10 to 18 minutes of two James Brown songs. It was funny. We did Sex Machine and I Can't Stand It. And people actually enjoyed it. It was funny as ever. And I told my choir teacher, who's a great guy, we're still good friends to this day. I said, "I'm going to kill you." I said, "You knew I wanted to cut my hair off." He said, "Yeah, but you do it so well." so after that, graduated, cut my hair off. As soon as I graduated, I cut my hair off. And of course, classmates saw me and they were like, "Oh my God, you cut your hair off," and da 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 da. And I was just like, "Yeah, I needed to. It was hot." And just for anybody out there, do not perm your hair. It is hot. It is uncomfortable. It tickles the back of your ears. It's very difficult to sleep in rollers. And I was the only male in my home sleeping with a bonnet on. That is not fun. So anyway, picked up guitar again, 2017.
Uh-huh.
I'm in college. And of course, in America, you get college refund checks and things like that.
Cool.
I took my college refund check and I bought an Everphone Lucille.
Wow.
Which I don't have anymore. No, I take that back. I first bought an Epiphone ES335.
Oh, yeah, good guitars. Yeah, not
I,
bad
I
guitars.
liked it,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
but I hated those pull and push knobs on it.
Yep,
Um, I understood them, but I just didn't like it, and
sure,
the mono sound bothers me. I'm
sure.
sorry, all you guitar players that play mono. I can't stand the sound.
Yeah, yeah,
Um, so I got a Epiphone Lucille, which of course is
yep,
mono and stereo.
yes,
Uh, Ordered a special Y cable for it.
yep.
Loved it. Then about 20. Oh, this. I have a sick sense of humor, but this is good. There was a time in 20. This was either 2017 or 2019, one of the two. Me and my mom were in a car accident.
Oh, sorry to hear.
Oh no, that's perfectly fine. Um, we were at a stop sign. A lady hit us from the back. I was mad the whole morning because I was on my way to college, and this lady, this was 2017, yes, lady just hits us hard. And so we go to physical therapy, and the physical therapist is like, hey, I hope you understand that when you're done, you're going to get a check. And I was like, why would we get a check? We were hit. And so I didn't know the whole thing about if somebody hits you, their insurance has to pay for your stuff. So I won't tell you the amount I got, but I got enough to where I got an Epiphone ES345, which was a
Wow.
limited edition guitar. And of course, they were discontinued in 2011, but I found a guy in Virginia who was selling it at his shop, and he was willing to like ship it and all that. So I bought that guitar, and of course, it's kind of just like an Epiphone Lucille, except it has F holes and it's a 345. Very beautiful guitar. It was ebony color. I had named it after my first girlfriend, Deja. I think. I think. And I got rid of that one too. I sold it to a young man who was ill. He was not
Sure.
feeling well. He was
Mm,
very sick. He's still alive today, but he was very sick.
okay.
And so his dad said that he played guitar at church, and that to help pay for some of the hospital bills, they ended up selling a lot of the young man's stuff.
Okay.
So when they got back on their feet financially, the father, uh, bought the guitar from me, and I was very happy to do it.
Sure.
And then fast forward to 2020, my grandfather left. He passed away sadly, but he left some money to the family, and I bought my first Gibson, which was
Always
a
good.
1980 Burgundy 355 stereo, wired strictly stereo. It doesn't have the two inputs. It had the one input that's just stereo. And I recently gave that one to a very good friend of mine you've probably heard of by the name of Mr. Sip. Mr. Sip now has that guitar. So if anyone sees Mr. Sip with a Burgundy 1980 Gibson, that is
Wow.
mine. I gave it to him.
Wow.
And right now, my baby, my go-to is my 1976 Gibson ES355 that is walnut colored, that is stereo as well. And I haven't changed a thing about it. I've had a lot of people complain and say, "Man, those pickups are just horrible because there's like corrosion and stuff on the pickup covers, and the hardware is losing color." I'm just like, it's the original parts. Like you can't. The more that you take away original parts, the more you devalue the guitar. So, but everyone's still like, you can replace the covers. I'm like, no, because something might happen where you know it may be stuck to the pickups, and the pickups get messed up, and you got to get the pickups fixed and get covers and all of it. But that is my baby. My baby is my 1976 Gibson ES355. Every
Beautiful.
time people see me, I have that guitar now. And I've had it now for not even a year.
Wow.
There's a great story actually behind this guitar. Great story. June of no, it's been a year. It's been a year. June of
Sure.
2021.
Yeah.
New Orleans is about 4.5, 5 hours away from me. A
Sure.
guy in New Orleans was selling this guitar, and he said, "Man, I couldn't let it go to a pawn shop because they would just see it as a dollar sign."
Sure.
And so he came across my videos, and he said, "Man, you play a Epiphone 345. Would you like to have this?" Hey, hello, Van Halen. Yes. He said, "Would you like to have this Gibson?" I was like, "Of course." True story. I drove to New Orleans, bought that guitar, and it came with the original case, and drove back home the same day. So that the same night, that's about a little over 10, 11 hours of driving.
Wow.
I got 3 hours of sleep because the next day I had to be in New Orleans. I mean,
Sure.
in Indianola, Mississippi, which is BB King's hometown.
Okay.
The reason why I had to be in Indianola that next day is because we were having the BB King Museum expansion opening. And so my first gig with that guitar was playing with Gary Clark Jr., Susan Tedeschi, Derek Trucks, BB King Band alumni members, Bobby Rush, and Mr. Sip. And that's why I'm not ever letting go of this guitar. True story.
Wow. So you
And
picked
it's
up this guitar, you drove all night with this guitar, you roll out of the car, you jump on stage, and you plug this baby in and you play.
the rest is history. Man, like
Wow.
that's and it's footage. It's footage of me of my first show playing that guitar at the BB King Museum expansion celebration. And there's Gary Clark Jr. on stage. You have
Oh,
Kenny
man.
Neal. You have Vasti Jackson, who travels Europe quite a bit. Um, again, Mr. Sip, Derek Truck, Susan Tedeschi. And I have videos of them at rehearsal. They didn't bring any guitars. So I had my Burgundy Gibson and my Walnut Gibson, and I have footage of them playing my guitars.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, what we're going to do, I promise, after we finish this show, DK and we'll attach all the videos that DK's mentioned, the ones where he's doing his James Brown gig
Yeah.
earlier. We'll attach those links to this video if you're watching on replay, and also any of these other videos to DK, because
Oh,
just to make it a little bit easier for people. Sorry for interrupting, but I just want people to know
no,
that we'll attach them.
no, you're perfectly fine. Yes, we will attach them because the James Brown one is funny, but it's you kind of just see these steps of how my career has gone so far. Now to answer your question earlier, um, oh, thank you. See, we actually have someone who's seen the video.
Yep.
Um, so to answer your previous question about when I made the decision to make it a career, it was 2020, 2019. Um, I was going through some old belongings, and I visited the BB King Museum in 2014. The director of the BB King Museum, Robert Harrell, I showed him a video of me playing in 2014, which was horrible. And he said, "You know what, kid? You got potential. Here's my
Whoa.
card."
Wow.
So fast forward 5 years later, I come across this card. I said, "I'm gonna send this guy some updated videos of me playing because I've gotten better since our
Sure.
last song."
Sure.
And I sent him the videos. He said, "I remember meeting you. Give me a call." So I called him. I said, "Hey, Mr. Terrell, et cetera, et cetera." And he was like, "What are you doing the first Thursday in September?" I said, "Nothing." And he goes, "Well, I want you to come to Mississippi and play at the BB King Symposium." So the BB King Symposium is this thing they have every year in Indianola, Mississippi, where it's kind of like a panel discussion. They'll pick a topic. That year that I did it, it actually was the British invasion.
Wow.
Yeah, uh, which you can always go back and watch on YouTube. They have the full panel discussion and everything, which is actually very informative because they invite people who who were part of that time
Sure.
to the symposium to speak of their experiences overseas and things of that nature. But what's funny about this story, I won't say funny, but unique, is that I'm standing there with my Epiphone 345 at the time, and I see them bring this guitar case out. And so Lil Ray Neal, or Ray Neal, who is the younger brother of Kenny Neal, has his red Gibson 355. Uh, that's a reissue, of course. And this guy hands him this guitar case, and Ray opens it and he pulls it out, and it's a custom made Lucille,
Mm-hmm.
and it has BB's face on it and everything. And so Ray says, "Young man, this guitar was specially made for BB when the museum opened up." And I'm like, "Oh wow, cool." He said, "And today is your day." I said, "What do you mean?" He said, "You're gonna play Lucille." And so that's a proud moment right there in my life where I'm one of the few people that can say they play Lucille.
Wow.
And that specific guitar, only 7 people have played it, and out of those 7, I'm in the top 5.
Fantastic.
It is crazy. So that was my first paying gig, was the BB King Symposium, because after the symposium is over, which happens early in the morning, later in the evening, there's a club called Club Ebony, which is a historical club in BB's hometown that BB owned and donated to the museum, that he used to play at in the 50s. What makes this club even more cooler is that Albert King, Ike and Tina Turner, James Brown, Sam Cooke, Billie Holiday, you name them, they've played at this club. And
Wow.
so to say my first gig was not only playing BB's Lucille, but also playing at Club Ebony, a historical blues club. What can I say? It's an honor.
What what's really interesting, ladies and gentlemen, and I think we've got some onto it educated people in the chat here who will know this. Playing your first gig at a BB King symposium isn't like playing in a bar somewhere where maybe someone's heard one or two BB King songs. You're playing in front of people who've been listening to BB King for years, who know BB King stuff note for note in their subconsciousness, DK. So for you to be playing in front of this environment of people for your first gig, boy, that's a tremendous experience for you to build on. That's
Yeah,
that's that's the Super Bowl final for your first gig, bro.
it was pretty crazy. Actually, when I got through playing at the symposium, a lady named Miss Clark, who works at the school that we have this discussion or the panel, she came with me. She said, "Are you one of BB King's kids?" And I said, "No, man." She said, "Because you sound just like him," and that was
Wow.
crazy. And I even had
The,
some of his band members tell me the same thing, and I became very close with his band members. We lost his nephew Walter Riley King last year, and Walter was, of course, a mentor and a good friend. But when he passed away, his family asked me to be pallbearer at his funeral, so that was an honor as well. So
Wow, that's just amazing. And this is the biography, ladies and gentlemen, that DK and I were talking about. It's called King of the Blues: The Rise and Reign of BB King by Daniel Devise. Check it out. It is a phenomenal biography. Came out. It came out. It's only a recent biography. Hold on, ladies and gentlemen. Came out in 2021, so it's pretty good. The good
it's
thing about this biography is it talks about the musical side of BB King, up to date. You know, the guy knows his music, so he's talking about the guitars and the gear and the stuff, you know, from that perspective as well. He's describing it well, and he talks a lot about BB's private life too, which is epic. It's a story by itself, where he came from and what he did. Um, yeah, one of the best biographies I've ever read.
it's a great one. It's a great one. And they just released, I think either a couple years ago, they released, I think it's called BB King Icon, where it's just pictures of BB's life throughout the years that haven't been um, shown to people before, that haven't been seen by the public at all.
Yeah, yeah,
So, but I will say, I'm not a, I get a lot of backlash, honestly, for playing like BB, um, or similar to him. But that's the thing, I'm not a BB King impersonator. You know,
yeah,
uh, as you can see from my footage,
yeah,
or footage, I don't exactly mimic him or try to be like him. I just have an appreciation for his style of music that a lot of people don't do justice. I feel like if I see a band, a blues band, or even a rock band, and they say, "Oh, we're going to do this BB King tune. We're going to dedicate it to King," of course, it's going to be "Thriller's Gone," and everybody does "Thriller's Gone."
yeah.
And I'm not saying that's a bad thing. When
Sure.
I say I have an appreciation for his music, in my sets, I'll do songs by BB that people probably heard one time or probably haven't heard at all.
And there's a lot there, and God bless you for doing that, because that's one of the interesting things about BB King. Go back and look at his discography, ladies
Mm.
and gentlemen. If you're not familiar with you'll be blown away by it. And again, I think it's just something that obviously, and Christopher has just mentioned it before. You know, he's been a blues fan since '65. I know
Yes.
Great Vanzini is in here. He's been a blues fan for 40 years too. So you know, these guys will be very familiar with the amount of work that BB King left us. What's really interesting though about BB King too is he was playing with contemporary artists right through his career. So, for example, on the 40th anniversary of Get Your Ya-Ya's out, the Rolling Stones' great live album, they've got Ike and Tina Turner's opening act on there, and also BB King. BB King, was playing with the Stones, and hanging out with, well, Keith Richards was hanging out with BB King. I was going to say the other way around. BB was hanging out with the Rolling Stones, but no, it can't be that. It's always got to be the Stones hanging out, and we're all Clapton nuts too. And there's that famous pic where Clapton's in cream, and he's sitting down in BB, and they're sitting on Fender amps, and they're playing. It's a classic photo.
It
You know,
is.
and what about too? What about when Eric Clapton came out the day after he found out that BB had passed away, and he went to social media and he
Mm.
posted it himself of him doing a small eulogy on BB King.
Yeah.
Um, That blew me away too, DK, and a lot of my friends. And again, how he made reference. He said, "Whatever you do after this, go back and listen to Live at the Regal." Um, just phenomenal.
I mean, I mean, I've had his family, listen to me. I actually just did a show about 3 or 4 days ago where I was playing at this club called the Big Easy in Houston, Texas. And I'm a special guest with B.B. King's trumpet player, Boogaloo Bolden. Yeah, we've been good friends for years. And we're doing this show, and Boogaloo announces that two of B.B. King's daughters are in the corner, seated. And we get through like the first set, and I respectfully go down and, speak to them and tell them thank you for coming out and things like that. And they told me, you do our dad justice. You
Wow.
do him. And even his granddaughter had that type of reaction to me at B.B. King's Blues Club in Memphis in 2021. I went to spend my birthday in Memphis just to have fun. And a friend of mine, Dan Ferguson, who I call Pop because he's an older gentleman, he said, "Man, I see you're going to be in Memphis. Come spend some time with me on Beale Street." I said, "Okay." He said, "And bring your guitar." And I was like, "Oh, God." So I brought my guitar, and he's like friends with everyone. So he's like, and when I say friends with him, like he's like telling the people at BB King Blues Club, "Hey, let this kid sit in, this guy, So they let me sit in. And of course we played The Thrill Is Gone. And BB's granddaughter, Crystal, she comes up to the stage and she just has tears in her eyes. I mean, she is bawling. And she said, "You remind me so much of my grandfather."
Oh my gosh.
She said, "If they ever make a movie about my grandfather, I want you to play him."
Oh, well, look. I was just going to ask you that. Because it was running through my mind. So, you've watched James Brown. We've all watched Jamie Foxx doing a great, the great
Ray
Ray
Charles.
Charles. Ray
Yeah.
Charles. So DK is going to be BB.
Well, we don't know. We don't know. I won't lie, it is a dream of mine. And even if it's just like a small part, if they, let's say within the next 5 years or 10 years, they decide to make a movie about you two, and they say, "Hey, we need someone to play BB King," and they choose me, I will be fine with it.
Wow.
Of course, I can't think of the actor's name, but they just had an actor play BB King in the Elvis movie. But the funny part is,
that was okay. That
yeah,
look, I love the movie. I've seen it 3 times. I loved how they brought the BB King story into it. I love how they incorporated that, because we know what Elvis was doing back then too. He wasn't in isolation. He was hanging out with these guys. They were all sharing experiences.
Mm-hmm.
But that was just an average performance, nothing stellar from the guy playing BB. So
No,
I don't mean that disrespectfully.
no, because of course, the film is about Elvis, so
Sure.
they're never gonna make the supporting cast better than who the movie is about. And who it's Andy T. I'm sorry, I don't know Andy T. I don't know Andy T.
Holly will have to tell us who Andy T is.
Yes. But no, I understand. Like, even there's a scene in the film where it's Little Richard, Elvis, I think Sister Rosetta Tharpe, or it's no, I think it's Sister Rosetta Tharpe, and they're singing and playing, but it's just a few seconds
Yes.
where you hear the guy playing BB King play a few licks on the guitar, and the funny part is you can tell that it's a recording. You can tell it's
Sure.
not him actually doing it, and I hate to be a butthole,
Yeah.
But I went into the movies. I'll be honest, I only went to see the Elvis movie because this guy playing BB King was going to be in it, and I said I want to see how good this guy does BB, and he had the speaking voice right. Um, but of course, when it got to that little scene of him playing, I just laughed at it because I was like, it's a recording. That's not really him playing. And of course, they're not going to have the supporting cast actually play stuff, or take the time, to learn how to play stuff and all that. But what I am proud of, they did get the guitar right. B was playing a Fender Esquire at the time, but I think in the film is a Telecaster.
Yeah.
Um,
Michael just got home. He's been
yeah,
listening while he was driving. Michael, do you want to jump on? Do you want to jump on for 15, 20 minutes and say hi? I've sent you the link. If you want to jump on, mate, and hang out with us and say hi to DK, jump on. I'm glad you mentioned that too, because I read somewhere recently where they could have got that right. That was one little detail that they got wrong, DK, with the guitar. It wasn't a tally.
Yeah, it wasn't a Tele. It was a Fender Esquire that B was playing in the 50s, which a lot of people have gotten wrong. Let's see. Andy Telemantes. Oh, wow. Sorry for the loss. We probably have. And I probably just don't. I won't lie. Even though I'm a young man, my memory is horrible.
Sure.
I'm good with faces. And you got to sometimes give me a number or a business card. But yes, that's something. Even the BB King Museum calls me their walking BB encyclopedia, because there have been times, because I'm actually now kind of sane in a way as an employee with the BB King Museum.
Sure.
It's just I'm not at the building every day. But if they have events, oh, Michael, you're welcome. They have events, where they want me to play. Of course, they have a lot of fans come up and ask the director questions. And if he can't answer them, he'll actually be like, ask DK. DK knows.
Wow.
And everybody bust out laughing, and I'm not being a butt or anything, but 9 times out of 10, I will know. Because people say, hey, I went to see him in 1974, what type of guitar is he playing? And I'll tell them. Or they'll say, oh, well, I saw him playing on the Midnight Special with Gladys Knight, what amp was he playing through? And I tell them. And it's only because, and this is honestly the secret, or one of the secrets. When I would study those videos of him from 68 to 2014, I wasn't just looking at his fingers. I wasn't just listening to, even if the camera panned off his hands, I wasn't just listening to what notes he was hitting. I was also watching the background. So I was looking at the type of amps that he used.
Sure.
Like, you'll be surprised at how many top-notch guitarists that I've met who argued with me. Like, they were like, oh, BB didn't play through no white cable. I'm like, yes, he did. And they're like, no, he didn't. I'm like, there's pictures. Yes, he did. And they're like, no, he didn't. And I said, okay, if you find any picture from 1963 to 1980, the Gibsons that he had, he were stereo, so he had to use a Y cable.
Sure.
The Y cable is to split both pickups. This is why in BB's rider, a Fender Twin was requested.
Correct.
When he got the first Gibson Lucille, where the F holes are plugged up, there's actually a picture of him and some singer, I can't think of her name, but they are doing a festival together. And this is one of the first times he's playing the Gibson Lucille. And he actually has a Y cable plugged into the bottom of the guitar instead of the amp. There's footage of him live at Montreux in 1980 on YouTube that was released a couple years ago, where he's playing Y cable into the guitar.
Okay.
Of course, if you fast forward a couple of years, maybe a year, he's playing a mono cable into the stereo jack input through a Fender, or whatever, and he's not getting both pickups. The only way you get both pickups is if you turn the amp all the way up. That's the only way you can get both pickups. But the whole sound of BB, of course, is not just amps and the guitar; it's also the fingers.
Sure.
Because I've seen many people play Gibson Lucille's, play ES355s from the 70s and the 60s and the 50s, and they don't get the sound. And that's with a Y cable or some specially made cable where they can get both pickups, and it still doesn't sound the same. I think the most common tone of BB that people get is how he sounded in the 50s when he was playing through a mono Fender Esquire. You can get that sound on a Telecaster or a Strat or a Gibson Les Paul with P90s in it, because that was the only secret that be let out was that, oh yeah, I had a Les Paul with P90s in it. So of course everybody was going, oh, I gotta get me a Les Paul and put some P90s in. And that's cool.
Mm-hmm.
But I like the BB that we heard from the early 60s to the late 70s.
Me too. I've got to be upfront and honest with you. I think that's the where he's sounding, unique, as opposed to a lot of the other players around him earlier were sounding sort of similar, but definitely. I think what's really interesting about what DK said there too, ladies and gentlemen, it becomes a cliche, and this is a guitar-based program, and we've all heard it, and we've all said it ourselves, that tone is in the fingers, but certainly for BB King, it certainly was. You go and look at a lot of those videos, and even when he's having a conversation where he's talking to the Edge, when they're doing, Rattle and Hum, and he's telling the Edge, he said, I'm just going to play lead, I'm going to play licks, I don't play chords, when so and he's just sitting there and he's only standing there, and DK is only playing 3 notes. Am I frozen, or is DK frozen, ladies and gentlemen? I think DK is frozen. Hopefully he can come back and join the conversation. Been a great show with DK, hasn't it? Hilarious, upfront and honest experiences he's shared with us along his journey of becoming a performer. I certainly do look forward, ladies and gentlemen, to attaching the videos that he mentioned when he was having a conversation with us. I'll get those videos of him at the symposium. I'll attach that here, and also his James Brown performance. I can't wait to see that. I'm going to send DK a message and ask him to come back, so just bear with me. Am I flat too? Oh my gosh, I'm flat too. Hold on. I have to use this other device here. Where is he? DK. Are you coming back? I've sent him a message asking him if he's coming back. I know what's happened. He was probably streaming through his phone and somebody rang him. That's generally what happens when you lose people. Someone inevitably rings you. Maybe his phone died. He did tell me before we went live, Holly, that he was plugging his phone in. So we'll give him a couple of minutes to make a reply. Michael, it's been fantastic having DK on the show. Thank you, brother, for reaching out to both of us to get together and do a show. When I checked out his videos, his website's attached to this description if you want to go there now and have a look. DK's the real deal. And I'm going to say it. He's the first Black American guy that we've had on the channel to talk about playing blues music. So, you know, that from that perspective, it's been an extra privilege. I do look forward to him, though, perhaps, ladies and gentlemen, getting some kind of recognition or maybe an opportunity to present himself in any upcoming films. If he's involved and has a connection with the B.B. King Foundation, he's already in the right place at the start, isn't he? If they do anything, if there's going to be any upcoming projects, it's not as if he's on the periphery. He's in the middle, so he's probably in the right place to get a nod or a shoulder tap to do it. I'm just going to read DK froze. He's probably charging his phone. We'll wait for 10 minutes anyway. Thank you, Dan of New Jersey. Terrific interview. Yeah. I like the fact that we can get together and share some time with people talking about their music. That's what we do here on this channel. If any of you guys ever want to come on and talk, it's an open invitation to anybody in our chat. If you ever want to come on, it would be a privilege. The difficulty will be finding it's always a difficulty nailing a time and a day to get together to do it. Around this time, and we started streaming approximately an hour and a half ago. This is a good time for me here in New Zealand, so this is early afternoon for me on a Saturday, which is a Friday evening for you folks in the States, and vice versa. I can do this time on a Sunday, which will be an evening for you folks in the States. So that seems to be something that's worked out pretty well for our North American friends that join us live. Please subscribe to our channel too if you're watching on a replay and you haven't done that. We do appreciate all the subscribers we get. I do make a point of subscribing back too. We're a channel that doesn't solicit subscribers, and you know, we subscribe back. So if you're building your own channel, you'll definitely get a sub from us. And if you also want to grow your channel and be on our channels page, send me a message. I'm happy to put your channel page on our community page. More than happy to do that. It's the least we can do. And if you ever want to come on a show with us, myself, the Rock Professor, Brad, we're happy to do that too. We've got 2 more shows coming up this weekend. Tomorrow I've got Bradley coming back. Brad's coming back. You guys might be familiar with Brad. He's been on the channel a couple of times. We're looking forward. We're going to touch base. We're going to talk about guitars and gear. And then later on, we've got Hugh Caldwell joining the Rock Professor and I. We're going to be ranking the tracks Hell Pays by Jeff Healey. Because tomorrow is Brad's birthday, ladies and gentlemen. Don't forget that. So if you're friends with Brad on social media, on his Instagram, this is Brad's Instagram. Check him out. Brad Cook Music. Send him a birthday message. Give him some love. He'd appreciate that. Very, very important contributor to the channel. The Rock Professor and I were personally blown away when we had him on as a guest. I got him on the channel doing this kind of thing. That's right. I saw his EP. Here's DK. Here's DK. DK.
I don't know what happened.
It's okay. I was just filling people in. I'm glad you're back. I was just letting people know. I suppose the good thing about the situation that you have, DK, because you're close to the BB King Foundation, that if there were any prospects of any kind of film projects coming up in the future, you might certainly be in a position to get a tap on the shoulder. So that's always got to be something to consider, surely.
Yeah, I've even told people that even if they choose an.
What's happened to DK? He's frozen again. DK, while you're sorting that out, I'm going to get, ladies and gentlemen, please put your hands together for a very, very good friend of ours. Here he is. Hello, Michael.
Hello from New York.
Good to see you, brother. It's always a pleasure. If you guys aren't aware of who Michael is, he's a very, very, very good friend of the channel. We've done a few shows together, and we do look forward. We've got some shows planned. It's just a matter of working out how we're going to do that, because Michael is back now with New York opening up. Michael is doing what Michael does, and that's playing music, Michael.
Yes, I just came from a gig, but I saw that you were having some technical difficulties and that you needed someone to hop on or you were going to end. So I just wanted to say hi and how I know DK and the one time we got to get together. So.
Well, please do. And I'm going to send DK another message. Well, just you give us some backstory on that, because he's been a great guest.
Oh yeah.
And I'm just going to flick him another message and ask him to come back. Okay, so fill us in, please.
Sure. So I believe that I connected with DK on Instagram a couple of years ago. I must have seen him. I looked through hashtags on Instagram, and I think I was looking through a blues one or a BB King one. And I saw his playing, and then I started following him, and we connected. Hey DK, you listening? I'm just seeing how we got connected, and I believe we got connected on Instagram a couple of years ago. We saw each other's playing, and we just reached out, and now we're best friends.
Did you just say that we're best friends?
I think so.
That is not true, people. I do not know this man. He stalks me on social media. He begs me to come to places I don't want to go.
Come on, we got pizza.
Okay, we did. That was one time. And I did say if you wanted to see me, you had to take me out.
There you go.
No. I love Michael to death. Michael has been more than a friend. He's been a savior. Words can't describe really how much of a real friend he's been.
You're very kind. Got some listeners here. Oh, sorry. Uh-oh, did we lose you again?
We can. Oh, so just hold on for a second. He sent me a message. So it's his connection. He's just noticed that there's an outage going on in his area. Mm-hmm. So this may be 2023, folks, but we're only on air because of the connection.
Right. Wonder if his phone is connected to power.
I think it's his internet connection, so I'm just going to remove him from there. So, do you want to fill us in? You met through Instagram, and obviously you guys have become friends, social media friends, and touched base ever since.
Yeah, we just check in with each other every couple of weeks, every couple of months, see how every gig is going and things like that. And he came to New York a couple of months ago, last June, and
Okay.
I gave him a tour of New York. He was coming in with someone that he recorded with, Rick Santos. I don't know if he mentioned Rick Santos and his recording project yet, but I'll let him mention all of that stuff. And so he came to visit New York, to visit me and a friend, Robert Silverman. And we took them around New York, showed them Times Square, and we got some pizza and stuff like that. Went to M&M World, very like
Well,
touristy things. And
well,
he got some shirts and candy, and he wanted a I Love New York shirt, and I found him the cheapest I Love New York shirt because they really get these tourists. They're charging $20 for a shirt that's made in China for
yeah,
$1.
yeah,
So, and it's a whole industry. So
yeah,
I'm
yeah.
taking him to all the right places. Hopefully, I made sure he didn't go to Sbarro Pizza, and that which is a joke in New York. You can't go to Sbarro Pizza. You got to get some pizza from some local guy.
Okay. Yeah, yeah.
And
Well. You being a local, you'll know all the places to go
oh
to.
yeah,
And
yeah.
should I ever come to New York, I look forward to touching base and going to eat some pizza with you too, Mike.
You're staying here. You're staying
Yeah.
here with us.
um. So so I suppose, Michael, what we should highlight the fact is, DK's the real deal.
Yeah.
He's already given us a little bit of his background, how he sort of got to this position of becoming, this guitar player, and who inspired him. And everybody in the chat, Michael, as you know, has loved that backstory, because it's the backstory which is always important, because people want to connect with that. And certainly DK has that. I look forward to, spending some more time with him later. Maybe we should plan another show where he can talk about his upcoming projects. But I mentioned before, and while I've got you here, I've had a lot of Americans on the channel, but DK's the first black American guy that we've had on the channel talk about blues music. So from that perspective, this is a highlight. This is, and he's from Louisiana. So gosh,
If you've seen any of his live shows, he just pulls from every blues
oh
musician, and he's got his own thing as well. So
yeah,
you want Buddy Guy, you've got Buddy Guy, he's got BB King, he's got Freddie King.
yeah.
It's great. And he knows how to command an audience as well. So it's just amazing to watch him grow and reach all these milestones.
He's going to be big.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
He's already big.
Yeah. And look, I agree with you, because I've spent some time, watching his stuff, and like I said too, ladies and gentlemen, we'll attach, if anybody's watching the replay, on the description we have DK's website, and we'll attach the videos that we've made reference to during the course of the show for you to check out. And we'll include Michael's contacts details too as well. Go and please check out Michael, because as Michael said earlier, he's back gigging. There was a time where we could touch base, and he did a few shows with us because he wasn't doing anything other than existing like a lot of us in the world a couple of years ago. But you're out there, you're busy. Do you want to fill in people for the next couple of minutes with your upcoming projects, Michael, and what's been going on with you musically?
Sure. I actually came back from a gig tonight, and I saw that you guys were streaming, and I said, I got to go, guys. I got to go watch 5150 show.
Sure.
And DK being on is a highlight, because I know him, and I'm so happy to hear his stories, some that I've heard and some that I'm hearing for the first time. And he's just a great storyteller, and I love the questions that you've been asking him as well. It's great back and forth. So yeah, I've been gigging, which is great. I started a live stream project. I mean, I don't want this to be about me, because this is DK's show.
Sure.
But yeah, if I'd like to talk about when he came to visit New York a little bit more, because we took him to a couple of spots like Washington Square Park, and we took him to the Bitter End, which is a legendary club in New York.
Sure.
Bob Dylan played there. The Seegers played there. Who else played there? Joni Mitchell. I'm just trying to think. Comedians like George Carlin played there. I was fortunate to play there with a musician I used to play with. And yeah, it's just great. So we got to visit, like I said, the Bitter End, and we even got to go on stage and take some pictures. So maybe we'll attach some pictures of us there. Can we upload them here? I could probably pull one up now, actually.
Yeah. You know how to do that. You can share that through StreamYards. We were talking earlier in the stream about the struggle to make a living as a musician in the States and indeed worldwide, Michael. Do you think, there's a classic story here where he's going to either have to go to LA or New York, to be around, a consistent audience of people who are used to paying to watch good live music? Is that something that he'd have to consider, do you think?
I don't know if that's it. I think he does. He might have an agent. I think he does a bunch of booking himself. He's got a lot of contacts, which is good. I don't know the way to make it really these days, besides playing your ass off in public and, having a video of you where you're playing, some amazing stuff, and it gets shared a million times and goes viral. There's videos of people playing in Manhattan in this small club that has gone completely viral, and within a year or two, this band Wolfpack was now selling out Madison Square Garden.
Wow.
Wolfpack, Vulfpeck, and what was I going to say? Where's the
DK?
Yes, I'm having outage issues in my area.
Well, we'll try again. Are you back, DK?
Yeah, temporarily.
I'll stop talking.
No, they're having outage issues here for some reason. I don't know. I just got a notification after I turned my phone back on. So
okay.
So
how do I upload an image here? Let's see.
I think present.
I've got a lot of. Let's see. Let me get the image open. I've got a lot of things open, folks.
Okay.
Share screen.
But I like Wolfpack's bass player. I don't know his name, but he's good.
Joe Dart. Yeah.
Yeah, I like him.
All right, I'm about to share my screen. Let's hope that I've got. Let's see.
Yeah, don't share the wrong thing, Michael. We don't need to know you that way.
Entire screen. Yes. Yeah. Okay. Can you guys? Can you guys see this?
No, it'll come through here for me to present here if you do it properly.
You see anything?
No. It'll pop. It should pop down here on the bottom of my screen for me to present. If you're presenting.
Entire screen. Chrome has lost permission to capture screen. Nah, it's all right. It's okay.
Do you want to send it through to Messenger?
Yeah.
To me and
Facebook?
Yeah, you send it through to Messenger and see if I can share it from here.
DK,
okay.
I was talking about the time you visited New York, and we visited the Bitter End. I guess he's frozen.
Yes, he has. Send them through, Mike, and I'll see.
I sent it to your Facebook.
Yes, please. Okay. Do you mind talking while I look down here and get that ready? Is that okay? And just
Sure.
Cool.
That day we also got to see another club, a blues club called Terra Blues, and it's 2 doors down from the Bitter End. It's a lot of music in Greenwich Village area in Manhattan. Bustling music scene, a lot of musicians, a lot of comedians that perform over there.
A lot of college students.
Oh yeah, and it's right by New York University, NYU. So there's a ton of people, and tourists come there as well. It's a great place to be. And the park is right there, Washington Square Park.
It's busy till 3 a.m.
And oh yeah, yeah. And DK and I and the people that we were with, we were walking around the neighborhood and showing them, yeah, the park and the area and getting food over there. So it was great. Yeah, we showed him a bunch of things in a couple of hours in New York. You can't see New York in one day, and I think that's how long he was here for. He was in Rhode Island for maybe a couple of days doing a gig, which I'm not sure if he spoke about. So I don't want to step on any toes. But yeah, he was in Rhode Island for a few days. Then he came to New York and said hi to me. And after talking to him on Instagram for a couple of years, and then finally meeting him, it's like, meeting your brother and, meeting a long lost brother. And it was really nice. And we just felt like, we haven't missed a beat, so I hope to see him again soon. And he had mentioned even playing together. And we always joke about the Riding with the King album because I'm such a Clapton nut and he's such a BB nut. Kind of not recreating that album, but maybe even recreating a picture or something like that. We could call it Riding with DK instead of Riding with the King. That's my thought.
He had a big smile on his face when we were talking about you, and I mentioned, that you've been on the channel and that you're a Clapton nut. He had this big smile, and yeah, I know that. I know.
He was right before when he mentioned that every band who covers BB, they cover Thrill Is Gone. That's correct. I like Sweet Little Angel. I like, there's a song about, it starts off about like not being 17, something like that. Maybe it's something like that. I forget.
So that's the pic there that of Michael and DK, ladies and gentlemen, that Michael's just sent to me of them getting together at the Bitter End Club.
Yeah, that's an amazing,
The most famous club.
Probably the oldest club in New York, I think.
How old?
Oh, I would say at least 100 years, but I could be wrong. I'm probably wrong.
The floor is sticky.
I've got my dad listening right here.
It's interesting because you guys may be aware. So we've been fortunate to be associated with promoting Jeff Leventhal's book and Robert's book on Fleetwood Mac. And Jeff is a big Lenny Bruce fan. Would Lenny Bruce have performed there at that club, do you think?
Yes, many times.
Okay.
Yeah. What was I going to say? Regarding Fleetwood Mac, have you read the book Making Rumors? I think I may have mentioned it once or twice.
You put me onto it. Yeah. So I downloaded that book and I read that book in preparation for the first show that we did last year, which was on Rumors. That guy deserves, and you are right, that guy deserves a gold star for the information that he retained. The way that he spoke about everything, the way that he was having it all mic'd up and how he spent 4 weeks trying to mic it up. And this band were looking at him thinking, what's going on here? And then he didn't realise what was going on until the bass player and Mick Fleetwood started playing together. And then he realised, they have to play together. He was trying to get this drum sound independent. Phenomenal book. Thank you, Mike. Appreciate it.
My pleasure. Yeah, I read the book, and I think a week or two later, I said to myself, I can't be doing the job that I'm doing right now. I need to be playing music. Just said this. I honestly think that book changed my life.
Wow.
And I got to tell him that Ken Kalett. I don't know if I'm pronouncing his name right. But yeah, he produced so many people. And his daughter is Colby Kalett, who has a career of her own. She's amazing.
Have you read his follow-up book on Tusk? I understand that he's got I'm not a fan of Tusk. I'll be upfront. I like half of it, but I haven't read the follow-up book.
It's a different direction for sure than from Rumors. So yeah, it's definitely different. I saw Lindsey Buckingham last year in New York City.
All 80 pounds.
Yeah, he's quite thin, and yeah, he played a bit from Tusk, and that was pretty cool. But yeah, his career.
It's interesting that you should mention Lindsay, because I understand he's not well.
Yeah, he had to keep on canceling his tour recently. I think he had COVID and a bunch of other health things. Excuse me 1 second. I just see like a light in my driveway. 1 second, please.
No problem. So we'll just drop Michael out, ladies and gentlemen, until he comes back in. Are you okay? I can... Oh, he's talking. We've still got people watching us. It's been a great show. Michael.
All good, all good. You know when there's a car in your driveway with their lights on?
Making a U-turn.
I don't know what they're doing.
Yeah. I think what we might do is we might wrap this up, because I know it's late where you are, Michael. Can you touch base with DK? I'm friends with DK on Facebook too. I'd love to do a part 2 with DK. He didn't get to tell us anything about his musical projects, what he's done and where he's going.
I got to hear about that. And a couple of his original songs are great. They're already going to be classics. You know it when you hear it.
Okay.
And that was again something I wanted to mention. When I found him, or on Instagram, or he found me, I don't know who found who, but I'm glad that we found each other. But when you see someone else that performs and they're giving their all, you kind of fall for them. I don't mean that you're falling in love with them in a romantic way, but you want to know them and follow them. So that's pretty much how it was with me and DK, and I'm very happy to call him my friend. And he's an incredible musician and such a funny, down-to-earth person. No ego, unbelievable player, unbelievable singer, and he's all self-taught, to my knowledge. DK just texted me. I'm having outage issues where I live, and I think, someone may have hit something and messed with the connections, is what he said.
Okay.
He just texted me that. So should I just tell him that you'll do a part 2?
Yeah, we'll do a part 2, ladies and gentlemen. I promise. We'll get DK back. I'll touch base with him. I've got to have. I think we're booked out for next weekend. We'll see if we can do something very, very soon. Even if we do it during the week, might work out well, because when I finish work here, it's early afternoon the day before for him, so that could work. We'll organise something, Michael.
That sounds great. I'm asking him if he thinks he'll be back on, or if he's gonna call it. I mean, you're considering calling it too, I guess.
I think we're gonna give it a call. I'll do a quick thank you to everybody, obviously, for watching us. And if DK pops in, he might get an opportunity to say goodbye himself. But there's no pressure on him to come in, because I know what it's like when you've had tech issues. It does cause anxiety, and I don't want him to go through that. We'll get him back on part 2. But Holly, it's been a pleasure having you on board supporting us. Hugh Caldwell's going to be on the channel with us tomorrow, ladies and gentlemen, ranking the tracks. We're going to be going through Hell to Pay by Jeff Healey, the 1990 or 91 album that came out. I look forward to that. We're going to have the Rock Professor joining us. As I said earlier, Brad won't be with us because it's his birthday, so he's doing Brad birthday things. Follow him on Instagram, Brad Cook Music. Easy, and wish him birthday greetings. I'm sure he'll be happy to get that. DK has been a pleasure to have on. His sincerity, his honesty, his humour. He had me in fits of laughter, telling his story. But you're absolutely right, Michael. He's a humble guy, and it comes through. Trust me, it comes through. It comes through this thing called the internet. This humbleness and this humor. It's a great thing.
It draws you to him, and people are going to want to work with him. And Yeah.
Yeah.
DK texted me, I can do a part 2. He doesn't know if he'll make it back on tonight.
Yeah.
And he'll send all of his links and stuff as well. And he
Yeah,
apologizes for the tech issue.
yeah. If he can do that ASAP so that we can have them here for people, I'll be grateful. But I'm not going to do a shout out to everybody. You guys know who you all are. We always appreciate your support. It means a lot to us. The fact that you've been with us for a long time, sharing our channel. Go and check out Michael's Facebook, his Instagram. I happen to have. Easy. Right. I'll attach his Instagram account here. His YouTube page is on our communities page too. So if you guys are all here and you haven't subscribed to him, you need to go and do that.
Thank you so much.
I'm going to wish you all well. Michael, don't go. I'll end the show. I'd like just to talk to you personally off air before you go. Keep safe, everybody. Thank you for joining us. Bye-bye.
Good night, everyone.